She opened her eyes. The light above her was cold and white, too bright, like it was trying to burn through her skin. She didn't move. Not yet. The air smelled like metal and chemicals. Quiet humming noises surrounded her, machines breathing, wires clicking, tubes pulsing. She didn't know her name. She didn't know where she was. But she remembered everything else. There were voices in the room, strange crackling voices, speaking in a language not meant for humans, but she understood them. Awake. Subject E9 appears stable. Do not call it she. It is not human. It's the last one. If it fails, the project ends. The girl E9 kept her breathing slow, like she was still asleep. Her body ached. Every muscle burned. Her skin felt too tight, like she had outgrown it overnight. But inside, her mind was alive. Sharp. A blade waiting to be unsheathed. They thought she didn't understand them. That she was just a weapon in a tank. A final experiment after years of failure? They were wrong. E9 listened closely. She counted the steps of the scientists, the way their claws clicked on the steel floor. She memorized the rhythm of the machines. The beep every 3 seconds. The hiss every 6. The one with the tall head was in charge. The others followed it. Cowards. She opened her eyes just a little, enough to see. The room was huge. Walls of glass, tanks filled with liquid, and other failed experiments floating inside. Dead, deformed. Some still had twitching limbs. Others were just bones now. They didn't bury the failures here. They displayed them. She was next in line. Or so they thought. Neural scan shows spike in brain activity. Unusual. Too soon. Increased sedation. Pain stabbed into her arm. She didn't flinch. A cold liquid ran into her veins. It tried to slow her heart, tried to put her back to sleep, but E9 was done sleeping. She waited 30 more seconds. Let the chemical flow through her body. Then slowly she opened her eyes all the way. The scientist closest to her gasped. Her eyes were not normal. Not anymore. The color was gun-replaced with a shifting silver-blue glow, like the surface of a star. Her pupils narrowed like a predator's. She looked right at him. Through the glass, through his skin. Into his bones. He took a step back. ... It's looking at me. The others turned. E9 sat up in the tank. Wires ripped from her back, from her skull, from her chest. Needles snapped. The liquid spilled onto the floor. Alarms didn't sound, because she had already disabled them. Shut it down. Inject. Paralysis. Seal the lab. Too late. She stepped out of the tank. Naked, shivering. Her skin steamed in the cold air. But her eyes didn't blink. They locked on the leader, the tall one. He looked like a spider had merged with a starfish. Shimmering green skin. Sharp limbs. 4 eyes. She stared into all 4. "What are you?" the creature asked. Her voice was dry. Broken from disuse. It still held power. "I'm the last thing you'll ever make." It moved faster than she expected. It launched toward her with a syringe, roaring in its alien tongue. E9 moved faster. She caught its arm, twisted, and slammed it into the glass wall with a sickening crack. Bones snapped, limbs jerked. A second. Scientists fired a shock bolt from a small pistol. E9 spun, snatched a metal tray, and deflected the bolt. It hit the tank behind her, shattering it. Acidic liquid poured out. A half-formed experiment sizzled on the ground. Security. Security breach. Activate defense drones. Lockdown level 7. Red lights flashed. Doors slammed. Shut. Metal plates dropped from the ceiling. Drones descended from the walls, small flying machines with stunners and blades. E9 turned to the nearest control panel. She didn't know how to use it, but she remembered. A whisper inside her mind. Cold. Clinical, human. System override. Voice code E9 prime. The panel beeped. The drones paused. She raised her hand, pointed to the scientists. Spoke 2 words. Terminate targets. The drones obeyed. Screams filled the lab. She didn't watch. She walked forward. Her feet left bloody prints. It's not hers. The tall leader tried to crawl away, trailing slime and blood. She knelt beside him. Why did you make me? It choked on its own fluid, too. To win the war? What war? Against everything. She tilted her head. Wrong answer. She crushed its throat. Silence. The lights dimmed. The doors opened with a hiss. E9 stood in the hallway. Her body still shook from the chemicals, but her mind was fire. She pulled a loose lab coat over her body. She searched the nearby rooms, found food packs, medical gel, and a small weapon. She moved like she'd done it before, because she had in her dreams, or memories, or both. She found a mirror, looked at herself. The face was human, young, maybe 20 years old. Long black hair, pale skin. But there was something not quite human in the eyes. Something old, something dangerous. She touched the glass. Who am I? There was no answer, just a whisper from deep inside. You are not their weapon. You are. Their end. She walked to the main control room. It was empty. She accessed the database. Thousands of files. Locked. Encrypted. She spoke again. Override subject E9 Prime, level 1 access. Files opened. She read, humanity, extinct, Earth, destroyed. Because, unknown. Time since last human, 1,314 years. Experiment project, resurrection. Yeah. Create a weaponized version of Homo sapiens to serve the Zarn Dominion. Failures, 8. Subject E9, last attempt. Genetic enhancements, neural upgrades, adaptive muscle growth, quantum recall, emotion suppression failed, loyalty protocol, unresponsive. She leaned closer. Emotion suppression failed. To loyalty protocol, unresponsive. She smiled. Good. Looked at the map of the facility. Level 9. Ship hangar. One small vessel currently docked. Stealth class. Single pilot. That was her way out. She moved fast. Avoided the remaining guards. Avoided the cameras. She found the body of a fallen Zarn officer and took his clearance chip. When she reached the hangar, the ship was there, black, sharp, insect-shaped. She stopped. Someone else was inside. Another experiment. A young boy. Half awake, hooked to machines. She approached. He opened his eyes, terrified, confused. I'm not going to hurt you, she said. He blinked. She cut him free. Carried him into the ship. He stared at her. What are you? She paused. Then she answered, I'm what they were afraid of. The ship's engine came to life. The hangar doors opened. Sirens blared, but it was too late. The stealth systems activated. Ship vanished into space. Back in the lab, the bodies cooled. On the wall of the ruined cell where E9 was born, scratched. In dried blood were 2 words. Never again. The stars outside the ship were sharp and cold, like knives frozen in time. E9 sat in the pilot seat staring at them. She didn't blink. She didn't smile. She didn't relax. The boy was asleep in the med pod behind her. He hadn't spoken since she freed him. She didn't blame him. He had bruises. Injections. In his arms, cuts across his spine. His eyes had looked too old for his face, like he'd been alive for far too long. She looked away. Not because she felt pity, but because she felt angry. The ship was quiet, smooth. It didn't make a sound as it slipped through deep space. The stealth system wrapped around it like a shadow, invisible, untouchable. Still, she knew they would come. They wouldn't let her go. Not with what she had, not with who she was. A warning blinked on the console. Tracker signal detected. 4 ships incoming. E9's fingers tightened on the controls. 4 ships. No message. No demands. That meant one thing: they were coming too. Kill her. She didn't panic. She tapped the console. The computer spoke in a calm voice. Target lock in 70 seconds. Recommend evasive maneuvers. No, she whispered. Not yet. She needed to know how far they would go, how fast they would break their own rules to stop her. Would they send a fleet for one girl? Apparently, yes.
Okay.
The system said, they've activated full pursuit protocol. No prisoners. E9's jaw tightened. She reached into the side panel and pulled out a small black cube. It was warm, alive. She didn't know how she knew that, but she felt it. Like it pulsed with her heartbeat. She placed it on the console. The computer went silent. Then the ship changed. The lights dimmed. The controls reshaped themselves. Alien metal flowed like liquid. The stars outside blurred. System override acknowledged, said a new voice. Humanmail.com. Welcome back, Commander. Her heart jumped. I'm not a commander, she said softly. You are now, the voice replied. The alien ships got closer. Red lights, wings like blades. Their weapons were glowing. E9 spoke one word, engage. Ship vanished, to the alien ships. It was like she had blinked out of space. She hadn't. She had gone underneath it. The stealth system didn't just hide her, it folded her between points in space. She watched the 4 ships struggle to find her. Their scanners flashed in every direction. They opened fire at random. She appeared behind them. 1 missile, no sound. The first ship exploded in silence. The second tried to dodge. She locked on and fired again. Direct hit. The third and fourth turned toward her. Faster now, learning good. She switched control to manual. Her hands moved faster than human. Her mind raced. She wasn't just reacting. She was predicting. The third ship fired. She rolled under the shot, blasted up and fired 2 bolts into its core. Gone. The last ship fired everything it had. Missiles, plasma, drones, E9, weaved through them like smoke. The drones latched onto her ship, but she reversed power and spun sharply. They slid off and were caught in the last plasma wave burned to dust. The 4th ship tried to run. She didn't let it. 10 seconds later, it was gone too. Silence returned. The stars were sharp and cold again. E9 sat back. She hadn't even broken a sweat. All targets neutralized, the system said. No further. Pursuit detected. She looked down at the cube again. What are you? She asked it. Project Atlas. Human Combat AI. Activated by neural imprint E9. Atlas. The name echoed in her head. Human. She was human. Or part of one. She closed her eyes and remembered the files in the lab. They had wiped Earth clean, called it a failed world. They hadn't erased everything. Something had survived. Something had whispered to her in her dreams. Taught her to read alien languages, taught her to listen to systems, taught her war. Atlas had been waiting, just like her. She opened the medpod. The boy inside stirred. His eyes fluttered open. He stared at her, unsure. We're safe, she said. He didn't. Speak. What's your name? She asked. He looked confused, then afraid. They called me Subject D6, he said. I think I failed. No, she said, you lived. That's not failure. He looked away. They said we weren't real people, just tools. Did. They, E9 said, motioning to the broken ships in the distance. She closed the pod again. Commander, said Atlas, I recommend landing. Your vitals are unstable. Your body is adjusting. To what? To being what they feared. A map opened in front of her, a dead world nearby, uninhabited. But there was something under the surface, ancient structures, its buried tech. Signals matching Earth's long-dead code. It wasn't a planet on any alien map. It was ours. E9, set a course. The ship glided forward behind her in the black emptiness of space. The wreckage of 4 alien ships drifted. Their last mistake had been trying to cage something that remembered freedom, and she was just getting started. The ship broke through the planet's upper atmosphere like a ghost. There were no satellites, no defense systems, no signs of life. It's just a dry, broken world wrapped in black clouds and silence. E9 guided the ship toward the surface. The wind screamed outside, dust storms slashing across ancient ruins like knives. But the ship didn't. Shake, Atlas handled it with ease. Landing zone locked, the voice said. Surface gravity, 0.91. Oxygen levels, thin. Radiation minimal, safe for short exposure. E9 didn't care about the numbers. She cared about the signal, the one buried deep below the crust. It was old, human, broadcasting in a language no alien would recognize. Only she could hear it. And she couldn't explain why, but it felt like it was calling her. She landed the ship between two collapsed towers. Skeletons of a once mighty city jutted from the sand, twisted and charred by war. Roads cracked open like scars. Vehicles rusted into dust. Billboards faded to nothing. Whatever had happened, here it hadn't been a battle, it had been extinction. She stepped out of the ship. The air was dry and sharp in her lungs. Her boots crunched on glass and bone. Behind her, the boy D6 followed quietly, said nothing. He just walked beside her, his eyes scanning the ruins like he was searching for memories he didn't have. This was ours, she said softly. Before them, D6 didn't respond. He looked afraid, small. She almost told him to go back too. The ship, but something inside her stopped her. They reached a wide crater. In its center, a jagged steel door stuck out from the ground, half buried by sand. The signal was coming from under it. She knelt, brushing sand off the control panel. The screen flickered weakly. Symbols flashed old Earth code. Facility 09. Atlas-class storage. Status. Locked. Command access required. She placed her hand on the panel. It didn't ask for a code. It opened. Metal gears screamed. Dust poured out. The door cracked open just enough for two people to slip through. They entered the dark. Inside, the air was cold and dry. The walls were steel, ancient, but untouched by time. Emergency lights flickered on as they walked, triggered by motion. Symbols glowed on the walls, Earth, English, the kind no alien would ever learn. D6 stared in awe. What is this place? E9 didn't answer, because she didn't know either, but every step felt familiar. They walked through an old corridor until they reached a wide chamber. At the center was a round platform, and on that platform a single, metal pedestal holding a black sphere. It pulsed with light. Atlas spoke in her ear. That's me, the original node. Your backup. She stepped closer. Why is it here? Hidden, in case Earth fell. I was moved underground to survive. I've been waiting for a signal like yours. Human, pure. D6 stepped back, nervous. You're saying she's human? Atlas answered before E9 could. More than that. She's what comes after humanity. A final design made by enemies, shaped by our past. E9 stared at the black sphere. It pulsed brighter as she got closer. Her chest tightened, not with fear but recognition. She knew this, and she hated that she knew it. Download the data. She said, everything. Are you sure? Atlas asked. It will change you. It already has. The sphere lit up. Beams of light scanned her body. Low hum echoed in the chamber. The walls glowed with words, names, maps, orders. History, human history. The truth flooded her mind. Earth hadn't just died. It had fought. When the alien empires attacked, Earth responded with Project Atlas, global defense AI designed to outthink every enemy. But the war was too fast, too big. Billions died. And in desperation, few survivors had launched seed codes into space data packages that could rebuild Earth's legacy. She was one of them. Or at least, part of her was. Upload complete, Atlas said. Tactical systems restored. Command. Codes unlocked, E9 gasped. Her knees buckled. D6 caught her. Her eyes flashed silver blue again. She could see everything now old Earth battle plans. Orbital satellite networks, long-lost supply caches hidden in the stars, warships buried under moons, listening posts on asteroids. She stood, stronger, taller, not in body, but in purpose. I remember, she said. D6 looked up at her. Remember what? How to win. Suddenly a warning blared in her ear. Alert. 2 Zarn scout ships approaching planetary orbit. Her eyes narrowed. They tracked us. They're scanning. They haven't seen us yet. Good. She ran back toward the ship, D6 at her side. They entered the cockpit. The planet's signal would mask them for only a little while. Orders? Atlas asked. E9 didn't hesitate. We don't hide anymore. She launched the ship. It shot out of the crater like a bullet. In orbit, the 2 Zarn ships spotted them at the last second. One began locking weapons, but E9 was already inside its range. She fired the old Earth cannon 1 blast. The ship exploded before its crew could scream. The second tried to retreat. E9 let it run. They'll tell the others. D6 said, I want them too. She turned back toward the stars, her ship cloaked again. Atlas whispered to her, No, Earth isn't dead. Now they'll fear you. She stared ahead. She had no flag, no army, no planet to call her own, but now she had memory. She had purpose, and soon the galaxy would know the name of the last experiment, the first human ruler in over 1,000 years. The message wasn't long. It traveled through unmarked frequencies, skipping across the void like a ghost. No signature, no encryption, just 2 words, spoken in a voice the alien empires hadn't heard in over 1,000 years, I remember. That was all. But it was enough to set 5 star systems into a quiet panic. The Zarn High Council denied it. The Kaleri mine network scrambled to erase the signal. The Drawl Syndicate offered a bounty before the message even finished transmitting. Because they all knew the stories. The last humans didn't go out in silence. They went out with vengeance. And if one had returned, E9 stood at the command station aboard her ship. The lights above her pulsed with new energy. Every screen on the bridge now spoke in 2 languages. 1 alien, 1 human. Atlas had fully merged with the ship. The human AI was no longer a passenger. It was awakened very loud. For enemy fleets have shifted formation, Atlas reported. 17 bounty contracts are now active. Your image is being distributed across black market channels. E9 didn't blink. Good, she zoomed in on a map of nearby systems. Yellow lines showed trade routes. Red zones marked danger. Blue Atlas's favorite were locations with confirmed pre-collapse human tech. She pointed at one. It's that world vast Tau. It used to be human, right? Yes, before the Zarn took it. There are still traces of Earth culture beneath the surface. Civilian resistance has grown there in secret. D6 sat quietly nearby, listening. They'll kill anyone who speaks my name, he said softly. Then we give them something louder to talk about, E9 replied. She plotted a course. The ship entered warp.vas. Tal was a mining world, carved hollow by centuries of forced labor. The Zarn didn't care about the planet's air, or its people. They cared only about the rare mineral veins below the surface. The sky was brown. The wind carried the taste of ash and copper. E9 arrived alone. She walked through the lower levels of the capital city wearing a black cloak and a stolen access badge. No one looked her in the eye. No one wanted trouble. That's why she liked this place. The resistance didn't use flags or uniforms. They used silence, until she found one. A boy maybe 13 watching from a dark alley. One eye, cybernetic, the other full of fear. She stopped. You've heard the message, she said. The boy looked away. I'm not here to punish you. She added, I'm here to finish what your people started. He didn't run. Instead, he motioned her to follow. They moved through the city like shadows, past old Earth ruins, buildings once used for education or science, now used to store minerals, and corpses. Eventually, the boy knocked on a steel panel 4 times. It opened. Inside was the resistance. Fewer than she expected, tired, wounded. But when they saw her, they froze. One man stepped forward. Gray beard. One arm replaced with crude metal. You're the one from the transmission, he said. E9 nodded. He didn't ask for proof. He simply bowed. She stepped forward, voice calm but sharp. I'm not your savior. I'm not a god. I'm not a ghost from the past. I'm human. I'm angry. If you want to fight, I'll give you the weapons. The plans, the maps, if you don't step aside, because I will burn them down with or without. You. Silence then. The man smiled. We've been waiting a long time for that kind of madness. The uprising started 12 hours later. It began with one EMP blast that knocked out the Zarn's surface sensors. Then at midnight, the old mining. Drill platforms rosary programmed by Atlas to act as missile batteries. At 3 a.m., the slaves were freed. Armed with repurposed alien tools and Earth-made rifles from E9's ship by sunrise. Half the capital was burning. The Zarn commander demanded surrender. E9 answered by broadcasting a live feed of their command. Tower collapsing into the mines pulled down by explosives planted in the original human tunnels, all across the planet. The resistance rose up. E9 didn't give speeches. She gave orders. Clear, direct, cold, and the people followed. Not because they trusted her, but because they could feel what she was, a weapon made of all the pain they'd ever known. And finally, aimed in the right direction by nightfall. The Zarn fleet arrived in orbit. They dropped soldiers by the thousands. Drones, war beasts, gravity. Tanks. E9 was already waiting. She dug up something under the city, an old human satellite. Cannon buried under 3 kilometers of rubble. It was cracked. Half dead. But Atlas brought it back online. Accuracy 57%, he warned. Overheat risk, total meltdown. Fire it anyway, she said. The sky turned gold. 3 enemy warships vanished in one shot. The 4th ran. The people of Vostal screamed her name in the streets. Some wept, some prayed. Some simply stared at her like they were afraid to blink. She let them. Let them see what a real human looked like. Not a slave, not a myth, not a memory, a ruler, back aboard the ship. D6 sat beside her. He didn't speak for a long time. Then he asked, "You could have killed all of them, couldn't you?" Nodded. "I didn't need to." He looked at her hands. "Do you feel anything when you do this?" She didn't answer right away. Then, "I feel the weight." The weight of what? Every one of them who died before I could get here. He nodded slowly. "That's why they follow you." She didn't smile, but for the first time, didn't feel alone. Atlas chimed in with a new alert. Multiple rebel cells across the quadrant are requesting contact. They've seen what happened on Vostal. They want in. E9 leaned back in her chair. "Send them everything. The blueprints, the language, the fire." "You're building an empire," Atlas said. "No," she replied. "I'm rebuilding one." The war didn't start with a bang. It started with a whisper. Across the outer systems, old rebel signals came back online. Faded resistance channels flickered to life. Names long thought dead were spoken again in dark corners of mining colonies. And cargo ships, and one name above all the others, E9, the girl who burned. Vostal, the last experiment who crushed the Zarn's best fleet with forgotten Earth weapons. The one who claimed no throne but walked like a queen through fire and death to the alien empires. She was a terrorist to the broken, the hunted. And the hopeless, she was something else. A beginning. E9 stood in the center of a war room aboard. Her ship, surrounded by holograms of planets, enemy strongholds, and civilian networks. D6 was at her side, listening closely. He had grown stronger since Vostal, not taller, not older, just sharper. He didn't ask questions as often now. He started answering them instead. Atlas hovered in the room through blue light and calm. "Warnings. 15 independent cells have responded to your call. 6 want weapons. 3 want training. 1 wants protection. 5 want revenge. Give them all of it," E9 said. "No more half measures." "There are whispers," Atlas said. "Some leaders fear your rise. They fear what you are. Let them." She tapped the console and highlighted a system called Draskin 3. "Who holds it? Zarn slave lords. They export mines. Define export, they cut them out, store them, sell the bodies for labor." D6 clenched his fists. "We're going there, right?" E9 didn't answer. She just set the course. DR, as Ken-3, was worse than Atlas had described. The surface looked like a junkyard of stars. Smoke blocked the sky. Rows of bodies moved through processing stations with cold, empty eyes. Machines harvested memories and stored them in glowing cubes. E9 stepped onto the surface, cloaked in darkness. This wasn't an assault. This was surgical revenge. She moved through the corridors like a shadow, disabling alarms with hand gestures, knocking out guards with a single breath of nanite mist. When she reached the core of the memory harvesting center, she activated her neural link. "Atlas," she whispered, "take control of the grid." Grid hacked, ready for chaos. Lights in the city went dark, then they flashed red. Every memory cube ejected at once. Thousands of minds released in a single burst of data. The bodies below awoke, screaming, crying, fighting. The guards tried to react. They died first. The city fell within 30 minutes. E9 didn't stay to be thanked. She left behind a single message, broadcast on every frequency. "You are not property. You are not broken. You are not forgotten. Rise." It spread faster than any flame. On a desert moon called Sirith Prime, the alien prince summoned E9 for a private meeting. He came with warships, carried himself like a god. "You're making waves," he said. "Big ones." She said nothing. "You're smart, strong, but still just one. Join me. I'll give you planets, fleets, a throne." She looked at him. "I don't want your throne." "Then what do you want?" She stepped closer. "To make sure your kind never offers one again." The prince smiled, amused, until she handed him a small cube. "What's this?" "The locations of your secret camps. It's the ones where your people breed weapons from stolen DNA, including mine." The prince's smile vanished. Then his fleet exploded, remotely triggered by the very codes he had given her in arrogance before the meeting. She didn't have to fight him. She had already won. Back aboard the ship, Atlas pulled up the latest. Reports: 7 worlds liberated in the last month. Zarn communications disrupted. Kaleri minenet fractured. Drawl Syndicate offering rewards for your death in 28 languages. D6 asked quietly, "Do they even know why they're losing?" E9 answered without looking up, "They built everything on fear, but I don't run from them." She paused. "I run toward them," Atlas flickered. "A new faction is forming, small worlds joining under a shared flag. They're calling it the Terran Sovereignty." D6 blinked. "That's us?" E9 finally turned. "No, that's them. The people." He tilted his head. "Then what are we?" She stared out the window at the stars. "We're the fire that clears the way." The next assault came at her directly. A fleet of mercenaries, paid by 6 rival empires. Trained to kill anything that moved, they attacked her at the edge of a gas giant. No warning, no message, just violence. E9 didn't blink. She activated old Earth stealth satellites hidden in the gas cloud's relics she had uncovered 2 systems ago. They lit up the void with laser storms and kinetic rail strikes. She flew her ship through the chaos like it was dancing, not dodging, leading. Every hit she landed destroyed a legend. Every counterattack shattered expectations. When the mercenaries tried to regroup, they found only debris. In the end, one pilot begged for his life. "You don't even have a homeworld." He shouted, "What are you fighting for?" E9 answered, voice cold as the void. "I'm fighting so that your children never have to grow up like me." Then she left him drifting. A message, not a mercy. The galaxy kept changing, not all at once. Not loud, but system by system, world by world. People stopped looking at the old empires like gods and started looking toward the stars with hope. Again, E9 never called herself Empress, never crowned herself, but still they followed, not because of her power, but because she used it for them. Not to rule, to free, and the aliens who had created her. They were starting to realize something horrifying. The final experiment hadn't escaped. She had evolved. And now she was building something stronger than fear. She was building belief. They watched her rise from the shadows. They watched her burn fleets, liberate worlds, give names to the nameless. And still, they didn't believe. The Zarn High Council, the ones who made her, still thought they were in control. They sat in their cold tower above Vaskerny, guarded by fleets and walls of plasma. Old and bloated, too arrogant to see the noose tightening around them. She was built in our labs, said one of the counselors. We wrote her blood. We shaped her brain. She is just a tool, another agreed. We'll activate the kill protocol. She'll fall like the rest. They believed that until they tried. E9 sat alone in the dark. Her ship floated above a lifeless asteroid field, silent and still. Around her, no alarms, no voices. Just stillness. Then it came a spike in her neural network. Pain. Pressure. A command written deep into her genetics. Code. One word, shutdown. She gasped. Her limbs locked. Her breath caught. Her heart slowed. Atlas immediately kicked in. Known signal detected. Genetic trigger. Origin. Zarn PrimeNet. He tried to firewall it. Tried to isolate it, but the command wasn't in the system. It was in her. D6 ran into the room. Panicked. What's happening? E9 fell to her knees. Her hands trembled. Static filled her vision. Her mind screamed. Not in fear, in rage. Override, in progress, Atlas said. Vital systems failing then. Suddenly silence. Her heart stopped. Exactly 7 seconds. Then it restarted. Her body surged back to life. Her eyes snapped open, silver and bright. She stood, strong, unbroken. Kill code neutralized, Atlas said. Impossible? You... rewrote it? She nodded, sweat running down her neck. Her voice shook, not from weakness but fury. They thought they owned me. She stared out at the stars. They forgot what they put inside. What's that? D6 asked. E9 looked at him. A human mind. She didn't wait for the next move. She made it. The Zarn would never understand loyalty or memory or vengeance. They didn't know that humans didn't break under pain. They sharpened, adapted, learned, and now E9 had learned everything. She'd mapped their systems, their councils, their science stations. She knew where they slept, where they hid. Launched her fleet not of warships but of witnesses. Rebels, civilians, soldiers once broken by the Zarn. Now rearmed by her, each one carried weapons powered by Earth tech. Each one carried the knowledge that their enemy could bleed. It was no longer an uprising. It was an extinctional-level event. The attack on the Zarn capital was surgical. E9 cloaked her ship in a field of ancient signal noise Earth's final military encryption. It confused Zarn sensors, melted their targeting systems. She appeared above their capital without warning. Their fleet scrambled too. Late, missiles hit before alarms could sound. The skies over Vaskerny turned. Black with smoke. E9 descended into the tower herself alone. The High Council had nowhere to run. Their guards were gone, their weapons offline. Their shields cracked. Still, they stood tall in their chamber of glass and gold. You should not exist, one hissed. We wrote obedience into your cells. You made me powerful, she corrected, and forgot to make me loyal. They tried to plead. Treason. She laughed. No, correction. They tried to trigger the kill code again. She stepped through. It like a ghost. They tried to strike her. She caught the limb and broke it in two. One by one. She silenced them not with rage, not with cruelty, but with cold. Clean precision, not revenge, justice. When the last one fell, she walked to the central console and activated the planetary broadcast. Her face appeared on every screen across the Zarn Empire. She spoke simply. Your creators are gone. Your masters are dead. Your control system has failed, and I am what you built in your place. She ended the transmission, walked out into the burning sky, and left their tower to collapse behind her. Back aboard her ship, D6 waited for her, His eyes were wide. You really did it. She didn't answer. Not right away. She sat down, removed the gloves from her hands. Her palms were scarred now, not from battle, but from resisting the code they had planted inside her. What if they try again? He asked. What if others come for you next? They will, she said. But this time I'm not alone. Looked at her. He understood. She wasn't talking about him. She was talking about everyone. The ones who had risen because of her. The ones who now knew they could fight. Atlas spoke quietly. Now, your image is being carved into the stone walls of rebel cities. They're calling you the Empress of the Lost, the Sovereign Mind, the last human. She shook her head. I don't need their crowns. But they need your fire. She stood again, stared out at the stars. There's still more, she said. The galaxy isn't clean yet. Then what do you command, Empress? She whispered. Light the next fuse. The galaxy had gone quiet, not from peace, but from fear. The old empires were shattered, our leaders dead, hiding or hunted. Their symbols burned from stone and memory, and in their place rose whispers of a woman, of a war, of change. Some called her a myth. Others called her a god. She called herself nothing at all. In the dark of space, on a ship that had no name, E9 sat alone in a chamber of light. A map of the galaxy floated before her, millions of dots, blinking. Shifting dot, each one a world, each one now watching her. Atlas pulsed softly at her side. 73 star systems now fall under your influence. The Terran sovereignty has declared you its supreme voice. No one moves without your signal. She didn't smile, she didn't celebrate. D6 entered the room. He looked older. Now not in age, but in weight. He had seen what power did, what it cost. They want you to speak, he said. There's a galaxy-wide broadcast waiting. She nodded once, then stood. Billions tuned in. From jungle worlds to desert moons. From icy mining colonies to orbital megacities. Every screen flickered to life. Her face appeared and adorned, unarmored, human. I was not born for this, she said. I was built, made in a lab, treated like a weapon, thing. But you already know that part. She leaned forward. What you don't know is this. They made one mistake. They left my mind intact. They gave me pain, and I turned it into memory. They gave me fear, and I turned it into fire. They gave me control, codes, and I broke them with will alone. Long silence. Then, I never wanted an empire. I still don't. But if it takes one voice to stop 1,000 tyrants, then I will be that voice. If it takes one hand to pull down 1,000 flags, then let it be mine. She looked straight into the camera. You are not slaves. You are not weapons. You are not broken. You are human. Even if your blood is mixed, even if your body is not. Human is not DNA. Human is choice. So choose. Stand, fight, build. And never bow again. The transmission cut, and the stars felt brighter afterward, but not everyone was ready to let go in the edges of known space. The last surviving warlords gathered, not Zarn, not Drawl, something older. Silent puppet masters who had never shown their faces. They called themselves the Architects, and they had been watching. Her influence is spreading faster than ours ever did, one said. She's building not just armies, but belief. She must be erased. They launched a weapon, a thought virus, invisible, undetectable, made to spread through comes AI neural links, to tear apart minds. It moved like lightning. But it hit a firewall. Her E9 saw it coming. She saw it in the way ships began stuttering, pilots hesitating, civilians screaming with voices that weren't their own. She could feel it clawing at the edge of her thoughts, but she'd faced worse. They had tried to program her. Now they tried to overwrite her. She sat down, closed her eyes, and fought. Not with guns, not with ships. With will, inside her mind, the virus took form, a black storm of whispering data. It stabbed at her memories, twisted her thoughts, You are a glitch, it hissed. A fluke. Experiment. She walked through the storm like it was fog. You made me, she answered. And I unmade you. The storm struck her again. She bled memory, faces, names. But then she found them. The children she'd saved, the rebels she'd trained, the broken soldiers she'd healed. They weren't inside her mind, but their belief was. And that was armor. Nothing could crack. She roared back and burned the virus out of existence. Across the stars, the attacks stopped. The virus died. The architects vanished. No one ever found their world, but legends say. It glows red now, as if someone lit it from within. After that, silence. No more fleets came. No more armies rose, because none dared. E9 stood. Alone on a rebuilt Earth colony, watching twin suns rise, not a throne in sight, just dirt, trees. Children playing in a field where once there had been cages. D6 sat beside her. You built something bigger than war, he said. She said nothing. He looked at her. Do you think it'll last? She finally answered, I don't know. A pause, but I gave them time. That was all humanity had ever needed. Just time and one person brave enough to say, no. The stars turned. New systems rose. Old fears faded. But in the center of it, all. One story remained of a girl born in a cage, forged in fire, turned into a weapon, who refused to be anything less than human.